What's good, everybody? Today is September 3rd. We're about to run through the entire price action from today. Today, the market low-key buns me, I'm not going to lie. So without further ado, just hop straight in and look at my thought process. All right, so let's hop in and just start with some top-down, right? So going into the hourly chart, overnight, we saw a sweep of this level down here on ES, and we ended up placing an external SMT. So I'll mark that in quickly about right here. So look, NQ ends up taking this low all the way down here, putting an SMT, where ES is not, right? So that now gives us a little bit of a bullish bias going into the day after seeing the displacement higher, showing that the market now wants to respect that, right? So quickly marking that out, SMT, looking fat right now. We open the market, we don't have to predict that that's going to work, right? Because we opened the market at about right here, right? So we open the market after prices already displaced higher, giving us change in this date, expecting to now see if the market runs through this inefficiency right here, and then also this inefficiency. We can then expect the market to go now and take this high, right? So opening the day, we see NQ over here, which already has ran through that inefficiency, right? So we've already ran through that inefficiency on NQ, and we are now opening the day looking pretty strong. So I'm expecting bullish price action. And the reason some people opened the market and saw this right here as a SMT in a fair value gap, I looked at that possibility, but I used narrative and said, okay, that's more likely a six sister than just an SMT, right? Because at times SMTs get ran through, right? And a lot of times we can tell if an SMT is going to get ran through if there's generated liquidity below us for us to go take, right? Does the SMT actually have a model, or is it literally just telling you price might move a little bit lower to rebalance into something here and then go ahead and run higher, right? So I'm expecting that to get ran through, right? So I pretty much disregard it entirely. I'm going to keep it on the chart, but I'm disregarding it. And looking lower, we open the market at, where are we at? About right here. Yeah, so right here at 930, we're expecting to see some kind of push lower, because if we look, we had put in that SMT and we had been rebalancing to somewhere around equilibrium of this leg, right? So we hadn't yet tapped equilibrium, but we've been placing and generated liquidity. And the better show of this was on NQ. So where was that at? 930 right here. So NQ had been placing in a ton of generated liquidity here after rebalancing and starting to push higher, right? So I was expecting to see NQ do something like this, and I would have been perfectly fine taking a short here, where I see a sweep of this internal high right here, and then we place in another SMT. So now we have two SMTs, and we can look to trade an internal model, right? So your internal model trade would have been right here down to this low. You would have waited for change of the state and then entry, and you would have got something like this, right? But sadly, the market didn't actually want to do any of that, right? So it just wanted to start pushing lower on open, right? So on open, we literally just like pre-market. This was 920. We start pushing lower. At about 930, we already go ahead and take that draw. We're already halfway through the range. So there's really no trade at all, right? So that's why I'm looking at this and I'm like, yeah, I don't really think I'm going to be trading this, because right, I'm not wanting to take trades before market open, because we can always expect the market to do something like this, especially if we didn't take that external draw. I'm still expecting the market to probably play around here, even though it showed me perfect structure, then go ahead and manipulate and then give me that clean model to the downside, right? So that's what I'm waiting for, right? And the market has been doing this recently, and I talked about this in a previous video, where like 5 minutes before open, it'll start that 9:30, that typical 9:30 a.m. short, right? But it's happening at like 9:22 or 9:25, and because I'm just not willing to trade, right? I'm recognizing it, and I bet you it might even happen tomorrow or something like that, right? But we're still just not being too trigger happy, right? Because we play in probabilities, right? We understand the market works in seasons, and this could work better for the next 2 weeks, but over the long run, if I adapt to that long run, I'm going to be profitable in the long run trading what I know works, right? So I'm not looking for this. However, that was a pretty clean setup. I'm not gonna lie, if you took that, that's probably the best setup of the day. After this, keep in mind we had 10 a.m. news, right? So 10 a.m. And when I have 10 a.m. news, I'm looking to either trade like before 10 a.m. completely, like before 10 a.m. or 9:50 macro even. Maybe like after like 9:52, I'm gonna stop looking for trades, right? Or I'm gonna wait until 10 a.m. news happens and we start to see a cool down, and then I'll look to trade, right? So what I end up seeing is on market open, after we went ahead and swept that high or swept that low, right, making this super efficient NQ model, we have equal highs on NQ. That's telling NQ potentially as a magnet to the upside. And then as well, looking over here on ES, we have generated liquidity once we run through all of these imbalances, right? So quickly marking in that imbalance price action that we want to see first get ran through before we can expect it to become low resistance liquidity run, right? I'm expecting to see at least this fair value gap get ran through easily and closed above before I'm expecting to see a low resistance liquidity run, right? So I'm expecting to see strong closure above that fair value gap, and maybe whatever the area is, right? Whatever the whole imbalance price action area. So just draw this, right? So I'm waiting, and on 9:30 we see this sweep, right? We see that SMT get placed in right here. Well, NQ takes that draw after completing that internal sell model, and then ES over here doesn't, right? So where is the template at, bro? Jeez. Template SMT. So yeah, now we see an SMT at this low, right? And all I'm looking for now is changing the state with displacement because narrative is aligned. Bigger time frame is telling me, okay, we probably want to go higher. Time is aligned. We're at 9:30 open. We're expecting to see efficient action now. So this looks pretty good. We're within a bigger time frame for value gap 2. Marking that out, I'll just mark this like this for simplicity's sake, right? But within a bigger time frame for value gap, the only thing we have against us is an SMT that isn't aligned with the narrative, so I'm not really holding on to it too strongly, right? And I'm just looking for, in terms of take profit, I'm just looking for this internal high, right? I'm not looking to go snipe the rest of the external model. I'm just looking for that internal high, right? Which eventually ends up getting taken after 10 a.m. news, right? So what we did was I waited for that change in the state. We had a nice candle closure above it, got entered in on that pullback, so right about here, and then looked for this high, got my feelings absolutely played with, and then stopped out, right? So I don't mind taking this loss at all because especially looking at the day, that objective ended up eventually getting taken. Jeez, why did I draw it so bad? Here we go. So we would have got like a 1.76R. So whatever. But yeah, I'm not mad about this loss at all. I followed the strategy perfectly. I think my narrative and my analysis was actually really nice because if we look, we see that price is overall bullish at this point, right? And we're just expecting to see this internal sell model become buy side of the curve, right? That's a super high probability setup, especially when you have generated liquidity and confirmation on market open, time price line. I think this is really great. I'm not mad at myself for losing on this at all, really, completely honestly. The market just been kind of bunched to me recently. Like last video, like that was a crazy nice 12 RR setup, bro. And the market just bunged me out, stopped me out, and then ran, right? So, and there's really no lesson from yesterday either. It was just like, bro, just you got to be strong about this stuff when it happens to you. So it's kind of that kind of day, honestly, where I mean, I took my setup, everything looked great, and I mean, yeah, sometimes we lose, bro. But after that, market kind of just sat around, right? 10 a.m. news happened, not much happened, and after 10 a.m. we started end up putting in buy side of the curve. So I mean, bro, really not much to care about, but we ended up looking for the future, right? We ended up placing this low. We're expecting to see that get swept and then a push higher. This now becomes a leg of generated liquidity because if we look relative equal lows, looking like we're generating really clean buy side liquidity to eventually later in the week or probably next week, honestly, after maybe completing this up to this high, and then we can see a sweep to then see something like this, maybe just complete guessing, right? Well, not guessing, to estimated guess, right? But we can look to see something like this down to this low. That becomes now turtle soup to then push us higher, right? But that's just some of the possibilities that the market could do, right? No guessing on this or no anything on this because, you know, it's not confirming it to us. I'm just saying, like, based on current structure, this is what we could expect to see go out later in the week. But yeah, overall, I think this is a good day to trade. Not in terms of actual setups, but I think I had a fine performance today. It's all about just tracking yourself and your adherence to the system, and however well you do to that, just that's a green day, right? It doesn't matter about your P&L. Your green days are the days where you actually consistently track your system 100%, right? And you don't overtrade. You don't look for things that aren't there. You don't materialize trade setups. When you have a complete thesis and you can go through and explain to yourself in a video like I do to you guys, when you can go ahead and do that, that shows you you're not just guessing, right? Like I'm not just thinking, oh, I thought it went here. Or it also shows you that my inputs are mechanical. I wait for that displacement to the change of the state, and then I take that change of state entry every single time. You will go through all my videos and never see me not do that, right? So that's just an example, right? We have to be thick-skinned and disciplined to be able to become successful traders. That's kind of what we have to do. So overall, I think this was a W day. They just follow the system, get disciplined, trust God in the process, and overall, I think it's about to be a W day. So thank you all for listening, and yeah, peace out, boys. Hope you guys learned something. Peace out.